now we're ready to start with Kayla Becker. She is joining us from, Kayla, if you're on here, remind me where you're from. I actually
In
should have that.
Iowa, like
Oh,
Annie is.
you're in Iowa. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yes.
So you are connected to Annie Vanderwerf,
Mhm.
who's also in Iowa.
Correct.
And so Kayla's story, she is a success coach who helps individuals to transform amidst life changes and specializes in helping her clients eliminate roadblocks, improve self-talk, and build an identity that supports them and the person they are becoming. So my understanding is Kayla is a certified yoga teacher or
I
has
am.
you are
I
amazing,
am.
awesome.
Yes.
And her business is Stories in Motion LLC. Cool. Her title is, it's actually, I guess you call it for abbreviation is JoYo. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or yoga?
Yep.
Okay.
JoYo.
JoYo. And so it's how to integrate journaling and yoga to elevate your life.
Yes.
So we're going to learn basically where all the things we do in the next 4 days are about raising your frequency. And I love that we just heard about how to raise your frequency with the products you put on your body, because there are things that will lower our frequency externally, right? But obviously what's going on internally and with our own physical practices is something in general that we can elevate and that we can raise the frequency of that. And so I love yoga. I love journaling. So I've never put them together. I'm excited to find out how to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christine, for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen. So, as Christine said, my name is Kayla Becker, and I go by the name a success coach. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to have an experience for the next 40 minutes. So, we've heard from three beautiful, wonderful presenters. And my goal for the next 40 minutes is, with a little bit of talking from my part, to create an experience for you to integrate what you already know and what you're learning, and do so through using journaling and yoga to elevate your life through this information that is transforming your life from the inside out. So, a little disclaimer as we get started, that if you hear the word journaling or you hear the word yoga and you're like, not for me, I'm just going to kind of like disconnect for the next 40 minutes and come back, I would encourage you to stay connected for the next 40 minutes, because you do not need to be a yogi. It's not about getting into the right pose or being flexible or anything in that regard. Instead, it doesn't mean you have to be an avid journaler or you even have to do it semi-regularly. It's really about finding connection, flow, this internal harmony with ourselves. And I truly believe that when we can ask ourselves better questions, we can lead a better life as a result of the answers that we find within ourselves. I'm a big believer in maieutic teaching, and that means pulling the information out of the individual, because I believe all of us already know internally what we need most. And if we can have someone that can help us harness that information and pull it out from us, I think we all can be our own teacher with that knowledge and information. So, with that being said, a little information in addition to what Christine already shared is that I spent the beginning of my career as a teacher. So, I taught English language arts, which is why I love journaling, for 13 years. And now I do some adjunct instructing. I'm a business owner. I take people through a process called the Success Circle, and I do hot vinyasa flow yoga. So if you are someone who likes the heat, I do as well. We obviously are not practicing in a heated space today, but our goal is just to move our bodies in gentle, restorative ways to kind of just move the chi, move the energy, get some flow back into us. We saw that with Julie with some of the shaking and the scooping of love and stuff that we did, and just creating a really good like internal feelings and sensations within us. So that's going to be part of what we do. As I said earlier, I'm from Iowa. I love to decorate cakes for my nephew's birthday. So if you see those beautiful decorated cakes, I do my best versions of those. I have a German Shepherd dog that I love. I have this really strong desire to understand things. And what I'm practicing in my own life is a lot of what I'm going to be showing with you guys here in this JoYo session of journaling and yoga, which is how to take the information that we know in our head, but then to connect it to our heart. And I love the quote about how the longest journey that we're ever going to take is the 18 inches from our head to our heart. And that's really the journey that I'm on right now in my own life, is making those own internal connections for myself. And one of my best ways that I know how to implement that, live it out in my own life, is to integrate and bridge two things that I really love deeply and that have transformed my life, which is journaling and yoga. So, yeah, I want you, just as we start this practice, I want you to make sure you're in a comfortable space. And if you need to rearrange anything in your space, please do so. The goal really for the next however many minutes we have left is how to elevate our life. And I believe, as I mentioned before, with asking ourselves those questions, it's all about increasing our communication with ourselves. And sometimes that communication can get lost in the shuffles and the busyness of life. It can get lost because of our response to fear, right? Whether we're fighting or flighting or freezing or fainting towards it. And how can we increase that communication? Maybe it's the shaking, maybe it's the writing, maybe it's having those conversations with ourselves that Shell was just talking about, and having those affirmations up in our showers, or talking to ourselves and looking in our eyes and just knowing all those things about ourselves and communicating as we're doing so in very loving ways. So that's what I want you to have in mind as we're going through this practice, is like, I'm just talking to myself. I'm just communicating with myself, and I don't need to share anything with any other individuals. So journaling and yoga. So we're going to be moving back and forth between the two of these over the next 35 minutes or so. And as we get started, I'm going to be moving forward and back just a little bit so I can be closer when we're doing the journaling portion, and I'll jump back for the yoga so you can see me. But again, like I said before, be in a comfortable seated posture. If you want to play some gentle instrumental music that would be very relaxing and soothing for you, I invite you to turn that on for yourself now. If there is anything around you that could distract you, I ask you to set that aside, and then find something to write with or to write on. So if you have a favorite journal, please go and take a couple of moments to go grab that. If you like to take notes on your computer or your phone, please have that accessible to you. And if you would prefer just to sit in silence during the writing portions and just to meditate on some of this, by all means, please do whatever it would be most beneficial for you as we move through our practice together. Go grab whatever you need as we get started. If you are seated close to the table or the desk in front of you, just maybe scoot your chair back a little bit so you don't knock anything as we move. So you have some space, and I'm just going to have you place your feet firmly on the floor. Feet are about hips width distance apart to create some length through your spine. So that just means sit up nice and tall. Your back, your chair may have a back to it. It may have arms rest on it. It can have none or all of those. It's all great, whatever it is. Hands can rest on top of your legs. So palms are down if you want to ground yourself, and palms will be up if you want to receive energy. Bring your chin so it's just parallel to the floor. Eyes can close if you feel comfortable to do so. And I'm just going to have you take a couple of smooth, slow, deep breaths in and out of your nose. And as you're taking those breaths, start to notice how the breath is entering and exiting your body. Noticing if that breath is coming in smooth and controlled. Noticing if the breath is coming in short and choppy. Noticing if you're starting to breathe through the chest, or noticing if the belly's expanding. And then take a moment here just to scan the body and notice any tension starting down at your feet and working your way up to your ankles and your calves and your shins. Breathing through the knees, the quads and the hamstrings, up through the hips, releasing, relaxing any tightness that you may feel. Breathing up through the abdomen, the low belly, the low back. Up through the rib cage, through the shoulders, down through the arms, the elbows and wrists, and then circling back up to the shoulders, breathing up through the neck, the jawline, the brow, and out through the crown of the head. Good. We'll take 3 breaths together here. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, just sigh it all out. Do another deep breath in. Exhale it out. Last time, deep breath in. And we exhale, release. Good. From here, if you want to drop that chin towards the chest and just gently sweep it here from side to side, releasing through the backside, the neck, you can. You can also roll those shoulder blades down and back a couple of times. Releasing those shoulders down away from the ears. You can draw circles with that neck, clockwise, counterclockwise. We'll slowly bring that chin back to center. We're all going to drop right ear over to the right shoulder. Drop the chin down towards the chest. And then roll left ear over to left shoulder. Good. We'll take the chin back down towards the chest and right ear back to right shoulder. If you want to do any more circles with that neck, you're welcome to. If you want to take those hands and massage the neck a little bit, you're welcome to. Sometimes it can feel really nice just to massage the neck. Even the collarbone can feel really nice as well. If you feel like you need to gain energy, you can pull up on the tops of your ears. If you feel like you need to ground, you can pull down on the tips, bottoms of your earlobes. And then eventually just find your way back into a seated posture. Eyes closed here for just a moment, coming back to your breath. And the first question that I want you to ponder is this. What is something that you have been reminded of today at the summit? Something that you feel that you are relearning in some regard. And if you want to open up your eyes, if you want to grab your journal, and if you want to write down some thoughts in this regard, you're welcome to. But as we've listened to our 3 presenters so far, Christine, Julie, Shalom, what's something that you've been reminded of? I know from my own experience, sometimes when we feel we know something, we can have the tendency to want to tune out or say, oh, I already know this. Maybe I don't need to listen or to think a certain way. And I challenge us to reflect on that, because I think there's a deepening of understanding. There's a deepening of connection to ourselves. There's a deepening of practice, right? Of taking what we mentally know and just really pulling that information, those 18 inches down into our heart. How are we integrating, right? What we're relearning in a different way to a deeper extent. Noticing if you're having any releases as you journal, or if you're feeling any sensations in your body. Give you another 60 seconds or so just to write down any additional thoughts, any reflections. That you have in regards to what you're relearning, potentially why has this topic come back up for you again? What's the power in deepening your practice, creating greater integration? Then as you finish journaling that down, we'll just set that off to the side. We'll come back to our seated posture. If you would prefer to continue the journaling, by all means, continue to write whatever is coming up. If we're seated, if you're able to, we're gonna inhale those arms all the way up. On the exhale, we're just gonna flip those palms, open up the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Good, we're gonna inhale those arms up, and on the exhale, drop right hand down by your side, and maybe it rests on top of your right leg. Maybe you have an armrest to set it on. We're gonna reach that left arm up and then over the head, feeling a big stretch through this left side. Good, we're gonna inhale, come back to center, tap those palms. On the exhale, drop left hand down, right arm reaches up and over the head again. Good, we're gonna inhale, come back to center. We're gonna do that one more time each side. So drop that right hand down on top of the right leg, left arm reaches up and then over the head. You can stay here, or you're gonna continue to twist that chest to the right, and you're gonna drop that left hand to the outside of that right leg. And then you're gonna look over your right shoulder. So you can have, if you have an armrest, that left arm can be on that right armpit, armrest. The right arm can come behind on the back of the chair. We're just twisting the body a little bit deeper to look over the right shoulder. Good, we're gonna inhale, come all the way back up to center. On the exhale, drop left hand down by the side. Right arm reaches up first to find the length and then over the head. Good, and again, you can stay here, or you start to turn that chest to the left, drop that right hand, maybe on the armrest or on top of that left leg. Left hand can come on the back of the chair, maybe to the hip, and we're just looking over the left shoulder. So we're just twisting from above the belly button. Good, we're gonna inhale, come back to center, tap those palms. On the exhale, flip those palms, give yourself a back bend. Hopefully it's easier here. Good, let's inhale those arms up. Exhale, pull those hands down through center. If a chair is or if the table's in front of you, those hands can rest on top of the chair, the table. We're gonna fold over for a fold. If you would prefer to come up to standing and then fold over in a forward fold, you can do that. but we're just hinging from those hips, maybe folding over. You can drop that chest towards the legs, and just allow the head to become heavy here. And then we're going to slowly walk the body back up. Let's sweep those arms all the way up. And on the exhale, pull those hands down to prayer heart center. Hands come on top of the legs. We're going to do a seated cat or cow. So hands are on top of the legs. We're going to inhale, drop the belly down, lift the gaze. And on the exhale, we're going to curl and round, arching through the spine, press away, rounding through that back. Inhale, drop the belly down, lift the gaze. And on the exhale, we're going to curl and round, pressing away. And we're just going to continue this on your own breath, moving as fast or slow as you like. It should feel nice and smooth as well as you can through that spine. If you want to move around a little bit, find those areas of tension, you're welcome to do so. Good. We're going to be here for 5. We're going to come back to center in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. We slowly come back to center. Let's inhale those arms all the way up. And on the exhale, pull those hands down through prayer heart center. And just roll out the wrists, roll out the ankles. You can do that as well. Want to roll out the neck, you can do that. Shoulders, just wherever you're feeling some tension in your body, just really tap into how you're feeling. Just like Julie was talking about before, just notice whatever you need right now and rotate those joints, those areas. And then we're going to slowly come back to center. We're going to grab our pen, our paper, our notebook again. We're going to do our next journal question. And this is also tying in similar to what our previous presenters were saying, Christine, Julie, and Shell. You know, we're all being asked, I believe, to unlearn something at different points in our life. Belief that we had about ourselves, like Shell was saying, looking in a mirror and having some negative comments that we would throw at ourselves, judging ourselves, our relationship to food, our relationship to fear, our relationship with our just overall being, as Christine was saying. But if you stop, reflect, and think about yourself, what do you think is the greatest area of your life, greatest current belief that you're being asked to unlearn? Maybe it's you're shifting your perspective. You've always thought about it one way. Now you're being shown something different. Maybe you're reframing your perspectives, your thoughts. Sometimes we can get into a habit of denying certain things rather than accepting what is. Question that I have really loved to ask myself the last several months is, when did I decide that? I think about that in regards to beliefs that I have about myself, beliefs that I have about the world, circumstances, people. Like, when did I decide that that belief is truth, or is the only thing that I can see? Give you another 90 seconds or so just to write down some initial thoughts. In regards to beliefs, perspectives, habits, ways of being, whatever it may be for you, that you are starting to notice, become more aware of, or maybe the knocking is getting louder, that no, this is something that's no longer serving me, and a change. I can choose to make a change in this regard. I can choose to make a shift. I can choose to whatever it may be. I think Shell gave us a really great example in the last presentation when she was talking about being at the banquet and pizza was brought out, and cookies from Sam's Club were brought out. And initially the reactions of certain individuals was shame or guilt around eating some of those food. And if those are some of the beliefs that we have ourselves around food, or how we talk to ourselves around it. That's a beautiful example that I hadn't thought of yet. Good. And as you write down those thoughts, you can continue writing. You can set it aside when you're ready. We're going to do one more brief movement journaling movement, and then we'll come back to finish with some journaling to wrap up. So find your way back when you're ready into that seated posture, spines long, seated on our chair. We're going to inhale those arms up again. On the exhale, we're going to pull those hands down through prayer heart center. And we're just going to step our feet a little bit wider than what they normally are. So kind of like those legs are in a V, if you're able to do that. Feet are still planted firmly on the ground. We're going to take that right forearm onto our right quad, and we're just going to reach our left arm up and over the head. So we're finding a lot of length here through these side bodies. Maybe the arm is straight up towards the sky. Maybe you can reach it and flip that palm over the head, whatever you have the space to do. Good. We're going to come back up to center. We're going to goal post those arms and then squeeze the shoulder blades together behind your back. A lot of times we hold tension here. Good. We're going to exhale, release. We're going to do that 2 more times. So squeeze those shoulder blades together behind your back, but keep breathing. Good. We're going to slowly release. 1 more time. We're going to squeeze those shoulder blades together behind the back. Good. And we're going to slowly release. Now we're going to take that left forearm onto the left quad. Right arm is going to reach straight up. Maybe it stays here. Maybe it reaches over the head. We're finding that length now through the right side body. You may feel it down into your hip. Good. We're going to slowly come back to center. Arms are goal post. Let's inhale those arms all the way up. On the exhale, we're going to drop that right arm to the inside of that right leg. We reach straight up with that left arm and then over the head. And now you might get a little bit deeper into it. Maybe that right forearm comes back onto that right quad. A lot of stretch. Good. We're going to slowly come back up to center. Same thing here on left side. So drop that left arm to the inside of that left leg. Right arm reaches right up and maybe over the head. Good. We're going to come back to center, sweep those arms up. Exhale, pull those hands down through prayer heart center. We're going to come up to standing if you would like. And you maybe want to grab your chair. If you have any worries or concerns about balance, or just would like some extra support. And we're going to stand behind that chair. It's hard to do here. And we're going to take a step back with that right foot. And that right foot is step back, and we're just going to come high onto those right toes. And on the exhale, release right heel down towards the floor. So we're kind of doing some calf raises here, high into the right toes. Right heel releases down. High into the right toes. Release that right heel down. Good. You can keep that both hands on the chair. If you want to reach those arms up into like a lunge position, you can do that. Good. We'll pull those hands down through center. Take those hands on top of the chair. Step up with the right foot. Step back with the left foot. Same thing here, right? We're going to come high into those left toes. And on the exhale, release left heel down towards the mat. 2 more times. High into the left toes. Release that left heel. Last time, hands to the left toes and release the left heel. You can stay here with those hands on the back of the chair. If you want to reach those arms up, you can into our lunge. Good, hands come back on top of the chair, step up. And then we're gonna come into a fold. So those feet can step back. If you wanna come down into a assisted fold with those hands on top of the chair, just leaning forward, you can do that. Or if you wanna come all the way down into a forward fold, hands onto the floor, you can do that as well. Let that heart and chest drop between those arms. Soft, generous bend in the knees. Good, we'll slowly walk those feet back up towards our chair. And then we're gonna grab and sit back down onto our chair. Again, you can close your eyes if you want to come back into that meditative state. If you want to grab your journal, you're welcome to do that. And then for our third and final set of questions. So the first one was, what are we relearning now? But the second one was, what are we unlearning? And then the third one is, where are we being asked to grow? So when you look right now at your life, from our current presenters that you've listened to, from the topics that will be coming in the next 3 days of the summit, as we tap into all the various bodies that we have within ourselves, where are you being asked to grow? Personally, professionally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, any of those. And is that potentially growing and deepening your relationship, your interaction, your connection with yourself? Because I believe that our inner world is a mirror for our outer world, and what we experience is all just a reflection. The second part to this question is this. Wherever you were being asked to grow in your life, what's your response been so far? Have you been willing, eager to grow and change? Or have you approached it sometimes kicking, screaming, not wanting to grow? And all of it's fine, right? Like, there's no judgment. I like to approach things with curiosity, right? Like, that's interesting, right? Like, it's interesting how I responded before. I wonder why I did that. I wonder why I responded the way that I did. However, I think if we can become more aware of our past responses and become curious, I think that can aid us as we move forward. So what's been your response so far if you've been asked to grow and change in these ways? And then the second part to that question is, or the third part to this question is, how is that serving you, right? Whatever we choose it in a way because it serves us to some extent. Sometimes it serves us better than others, and sometimes something better could be more advantageous for us in the long run. But regardless of what we choose, it's serving us in some way. And again, there's no shame or guilt or judgment around it. It's just awareness that we're looking to create. And when we create this better awareness with ourselves, we better communicate with ourselves, and it improves many areas of our life. Give you another 60 seconds to write down these final thoughts. As you get those final thoughts written down, my goal is that you will use this information. Continue to ask yourselves these questions as you progress through the next 3 days of the summit. Continue to revisit what you're relearning, what you're choosing to unlearn, where you're being asked to grow. And then from that place of increased awareness and guidance, you can integrate this information, you can harmonize it, you can create that wholeness within yourself. And you can really take what we mentally understand, right? Like we mentally get it, and then really continue to practice it and internalize it and bring it deeper into your heart so that it becomes an integral part of who you are and how you show up in the world. Because sometimes we can play things safe. And I think one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is sometimes disrupt the norm that we find ourselves, that we create for ourselves, and create a different trajectory for ourselves that's better in alignment with who we are and what our soul purpose is. So with the final minute, any questions, thoughts, or reflections? Check the chat.
Oh my gosh, I get to share. I'm having some breakthroughs. So the questions you've asked, I mentioned how my biggest fear was this perceived risk of loss.
Mm.
And so what I started journaling about was that, and then what am I being asked to unlearn is and the shifting perspective, that was the one, is that I could shift perspective around the perceived risk of loss.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started to answer the question of where am I being asked to grow, this is what I realized and what I'm like relearning. And this was something that came up before, that it's okay for those I love to be made uncomfortable for their own learning and growth. My requests and expectations aren't wrong, even if they create discomfort. So this perceived risk of loss is like, if I push them or if I ask too much, they'll leave, And so my response, and we talked about the different responses to fear, there's freeze, fight, flight, but there's one we didn't mention, and it's called fawn. And so fawning is this idea of like, okay, well, I'll back off. I'll, make you comfortable again. Let me make you comfortable again. And that's been my response so far, or to leave, And so that's just interesting that I'm realizing that I think it's serving me by saving the relationship, but really the relationship is more at risk because it's not growing. So thank you. Those questions were brilliant.
You're welcome. It reminds me of, what you just said. I was listening to something this weekend, and they said that one of the greatest crises that we have as a society right now is the fact that we're not being our authentic selves. Right. Yeah. So like you talking about like, you want to share this or do this within these relationships, but then the fear of how they're going to respond, it's like you're limiting your own self to be your own authentic self, which then could also, limit their potential to show up and grow in their own way in order to respond to you. So it's just really beautiful. And I'm glad it's impactful for you.
I'm putting 2 links in the chat. So one, I'd love to hear from others. The first link is the shared group where Kayla, I hope you'll join as well. And then you can always direct people if there's other things they could be finding on Facebook. I believe you have a Facebook group, maybe.
I do.
So,
yep.
Yeah, let's all join in. It's a frequency mentoring, raise your frequency Facebook group. And then I also put in there Kayla's site. So it's Kayla Becker Success Coach, or Stories in Motion. Either one, I think it's
the LLC is Stories in Motion, but then the website is Kayla Becker Success Coach. Yes. And yeah, you can. This is my smiling face that you're going to see on my social media site. So if you're not sure which Kayla Becker it is, that's the face you're looking for.
And then I had somebody asking about fawn. Yeah, it's a tendency to back off and try to people please. So fawning is kind of like the response to fear is like, oh, I don't want conflict. So I will, and I love that Kayla mentioned authenticity. It's like you actually are not being true to yourself by fawning, by you're basically saying, oh, it's okay, never mind. I didn't mean to offend you, rather than really talking through what is going on. And then Haley had a question about journaling. We'll grab real
Yeah.
quick.
My question is, do you set specific questions before you start yoga? Do you ask these questions every time? Like, how do you determine what you're journaling in your sessions?
Yeah, great question. So when I do it, usually when I do it for different events, there's usually like a theme that they're coming into the event or experience for. And then in my, like pre-work before the event, I come up with questions that just seem appropriate. Like they just, sometimes they come out of the blue, like I'm walking my dog and it's like, oh, that'd be a really great question to ask. Right. And it's like I have no rhyme or reason, but they always seem to be impactful for the people that show up. So it's kind of like, Shell was saying before this, it's beautiful. The people who come before you, it's like God always has a plan with it and such. So there are always different questions. And the only thing that remains the same is that a little bit of journaling, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of journaling, a little bit of yoga. And then a gentle practice to just kind of like warm the body up to get things moving and then to allow that to like move the energy within you and like your heart and stuff. And does that answer your question and help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Haley.
Oh my gosh, we have to wrap this one up, but it has been so good. And I love the way that was positioned like right in the middle of the day and that we were able to kind of reflect on what we learned and process. I am inspired to do something like this every day of the summit. So thank you so much, Kayla, for introducing this.